guys can hear it.
Today I'm going to show you my best tips and technique for lifting and carrying heavy objects. And this is a follow-up on last week's video where I talked about bending technique for bending down. We talked about the research and why I do prefer the deadlift technique. And there's a lot of great information in that video, so I do recommend watching that. But we have 3 heavy or awkward sized objects here, and we're going to talk about some different tips for each one. So this file box here, we're going to kind of, before we lift anything, we're going to get into the mindset that we're going to lift this in a way that's going to be good for our body instead of damaging. So kind of like looking at any kind of chore or activity like we're doing it in the gym. And so in general, for lifting, we're going to be focused on using the abdominals to pull the pubic bone forward. I talk a lot about pubic bone in other videos and the program as well, so if you want to dive more into that, it's a very powerful piece of anatomy to be in tune with. And so the abdominals are engaged and they can pull the pubic bone forward to lift objects. And the glutes can also lift the entire torso. They're very powerful. So we're going to get down, and I kind of have like a lot of hip hinge, and we're going to engage the glutes and the abdominals together as a force couple and lift. Okay, so this is pretty easy and straightforward. There's handles on this box, but what if the object is awkward? Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about a different tip for each one of these. And so with this bag of soil here, we're going to talk about breath. This is one of the most powerful things you can use to support your spine. And so when we want to take an inhale and contain the pressure, the intra-abdominal pressure of the inhale in our abdomen, which creates support and stability for the spine. And so before I lift anything, I kind of grab onto it, I assess its weight, I engage my abdominals and my glutes. I kind of almost do like a practice lift without actually lifting it. I just kind of get a gauge on it. And then I take, with that engagement, I take a deep inhale. Okay, bring it close to my body. And I try to maintain that inhale with the lift, throughout the lift. And it's the same thing with the lower. So you do have to breathe, but you can let your air out gradually and then take another inhale and keep trying to maintain that pressure. Another thing is, you saw me bring it close to my body. Once you get it close to your body, you can actually readjust your grip, and I'm going to hug it to my body. The closer it is to my body, the better for so many reasons. And I can actually pull it into my pubic bone, which is, like I said, a very powerful support zone of your body. And we're going to use that as a tactile cue to keep the pubic bone forward for carrying. So we'll go ahead and do it again. Re-grip, and now I have it up against my body, and I can carry, and I'm using the object as a tactile cue to help me keep my pubic bone forward, and keeping my pubic bone up against the object. Okay, and this feels good for me. I can feel my abdominals engaged, and it just feels like a really sturdy lift. Okay, we're going to set this guy back down. And that is a wet bag of soil. You can see it rained here recently, so it's actually pretty heavy. And this is the final object. This is super heavy and odd-sized. There's actually stuff inside of it, so this is going to be a great example for when an object is just not ideal for carrying, and you can still work your way around it. And so what I've found is applying all the things that we talked about before. So gym lift, abdominals and glutes, breath. We're going to talk about grip. So I'm going to get down in there. I found that getting low for this is going to help. I got to get my hand underneath it. And then I'm going to get one hand above, up against my body. And so I get a kind of a gauge. All right, it's about this heavy. I did kind of my practice lift, deep breath, abdominals and glutes, up against my body. And this one I don't need to readjust. I have my hand on top, and it just feels really good to pull it into my body. I'm pulling against my body. And so that pull up against my body is giving me a cue, like biofeedback, to keep my pubic bone into the object. And I won't be able to take normal steps with this, but also focused on breath. Normally you wouldn't be talking when you're doing something like this, so I'd be like, and for the lower, it's going to be everything in reverse. So abdominals and glutes, breath, and there you have it. So just to review, we talked about approaching it mindset-wise as a gym lift that's going to help your body, strengthening your glutes and your abdominals, strengthening your abdominals and your glutes, also taking that deep breath to increase the intra-abdominal pressure and support your spine with that stability that the pressure gives your spine. We talked about keeping the object up against your body, really pulling it in and hugging it into your body so your pubic bone is up against it. We talked about doing a little bit of a practice lift to get just to warm up that muscle engagement before doing the actual lift. I find that to be really powerful. So you just do that practice lift and those muscles kind of get a little warm up, and then deep breath and go right into it. So hopefully that helps, and feel free to give this video a like if you found it helpful, and subscribe if you like content like this.
All right. So I just actually watched that video with you guys, and I guess I'll give you a little insight into how this production process goes. So what's been happening lately, because the whole program and these live streams have gone through evolutions over the years. And so right now what's happening is I record this right before the live stream. Normally I get it done in time, and I show kind of like a pre-screening to you guys, and then actually the video goes into production. I have just like a video editor. She has her little team, and they take there's multiple camera angles and make it into a nice YouTube video, and then that gets published a couple weeks later. And so but what you guys see now is kind of like the raw uncut version, and that's why it's usually the vertical video, and it's not ideal, but if you do want to see like the one with zoomed in views and stuff like that, you can always go and watch the actual YouTube video, not live stream, but video. There's a difference once they get published, and it's usually about a 1 to 2 week turnaround. So as I just watched this video with you guys, I had a question for myself. So I imagine that some of you may have had a similar question, and it was about the breathing, because it's like, well, how you're using your inhale to create intra-abdominal pressure, which is, you say, very valuable, right? And you have to breathe while you're carrying the object, so aren't you losing that pressure? And so how do you navigate that? And so here's my kind of, just to go a little bit deeper into it, my approach and my technique is kind of like big inhale, and it's usually through the nose. So, and I feel that pressure increase, and that's like max stability when I first do that. And that's when I do the lift. And so I'm doing the actual lift under max spinal stability. And then when it's time, when I have to carry the object, I'll let the air out kind of slowly, it'll be like slow, like blowing through a straw, and then refill. So I'm not actually emptying my lungs all the way, and so there is still remaining pressure in my abdomen for the spinal support. And it is really one of the most valuable things that I use to protect my spine when I carry heavy objects. And I do a lot of landscaping, not only here in my yard, but I'm a renter, but in the yard I help out. but also at my friends, like just the other day, I was carrying trees, like big palm trees. He and I were both carrying them, and I'm using this stuff, and I'm like, oh, this is great. So I'm going to be talking about this on this week's live stream. So that's the breathing technique. And another thing about it is that, so you're only exhaling like half your air, and so you're not losing all the pressure. But the other thing is when you make your lips into like a pursed lip and you're kind of like blowing through a straw, that is resistance to the exhale. And when the exhale has resistance, that in itself creates abdominal tension. So it increases your abdominal engagement and support for your spine. So in certain disciplines, they'll call it a Ujjayi breath. Some of you may have heard of it, and it's kind of like making a sound on the exhale. So like that's not what I don't do the Ujjayi breath when I'm carrying. I'm actually just like pursed lip exhale, but there's a whole practice around it, which is called Ujjayi breath, and you can look into that. But yeah, creating that resistance to your exhale is really kind of what it's all about, and it is it's like a little hack for getting the abdominals to stay engaged, because that's really one of the hardest things to do, and one of the most important things to do is the endurance and the stamina of keeping all those spinal support muscles engaged for not just one burst, but which is the lift. And that's kind of a lot easier to do than to maintain their engagement and continue to support the spine for a longer period of time. And so, yeah, that's one of the tricks that I use. So I'm going to look into the chat, and I'm prepared to go for a long time today just because of the way it all started. And I'm going to try to answer some questions in the chat, and hopefully things are working for everybody, for me and for you. So here we go. I don't know exactly where I left off. You say audio is working, and let's see. Oh yeah, so Magnerita says, I need this video, and then I kind of thought of a way, and so here we are. So the next person was Stian from Norway, and trying to figure out the idea of the push away. Yeah, I watched that video over and over again, Stian. RG, it happens. Thank you for understanding. El Paquito, Michigan. Pamela started Sunday, feeling progress already. Great. Stian, 100% cured from years of lower back pain. Oh, that's a really good question. I'm going to remember that question, Stian, if you're going to be here for a few minutes, and I'm going to answer that for you. Because it's a little bit of a longer answer, I'm going to try and catch up in the chat. So, am I 100% cured from years of lower back pain? That's a great question. Sue. Mitch. Oh, Mitch. Hey, Mitch. Probably Mitch Kotler, long old time student from 2020. Yeah. Matt Johnson. Dr. Ryan got to standing part of the program. Currently paused to recover from microdiscectomy. I got last Friday. When's a good point to restart? You think no lifting for 6 weeks? The answer to that is to listen to your body, Matt. So there is not going to be any lifting for you until at least week 7. So you have a week, and you can spend doing the program, the first 6 weeks of the program, especially. I would just be doing module 1 and 2 from the day you get out of surgery. Because this is not a invasive surgery. It's minimally invasive surgery. So you can do the program, module 1, especially module 1. And then listen to your body, and you don't want things to hurt. This is the general rule for everybody. This applies to everybody for every situation, setbacks, surgeries, just in general, is you don't want to cause your body pain, like bad pain. Good pain is a different story. You're working out, you're feeling the burn. That's good pain. That's okay. But bad pain, you don't want to cause that for your body. So you go up to the point of challenge, and where's your threshold? There's different types of thresholds, but pain being one of them, is you want to go right below that and not into it. And that's what you want to do even for recovering from surgery, Matt. Greg, day 2, you're hopeful to get relief, but your low back pain is having a major impact on your work. I'm hopeful for you too, and I believe it's possible. Hello, Sherry from Michigan. Wow, you're getting good weather. Pretty much the same weather we're getting here. So why do we pay so much to live here? I don't know. Stian, should I be tired in my abs on day 2? Day 2, that's the push away. Day 3, your abs should get tired. Day 2, if they're really weak, potentially. MPE, okay, thank you, feedback. Doug Sleater, hi, Dr. Ryan, I'm on module 8, still struggling with pain every day. Every time I ask my back to do virtually anything, I'm focusing on my back and front anchors, but think sleep is causing it. This is a thing, yeah, sleep. I've heard from, several students that they think that's the cause. And I went kind of in depth about that, Doug. I think it was last week or the week before, about how it's hard to believe that sleep causes your back pain unless you have like a super soft mattress or you're sleeping in a really bad position. But what is easier to believe is that your body's just recovering at night and feeling like letting its guard down, and the pain comes in at night that you've been fending off all day long as you just kind of relax in your sleep, and you wake up and your body's been trying to repair all night and you feel that pain. It's a thought, but I tend to believe it's more about what you're doing during the day. But, movement feels good, and sleep is not involving movement. And so maybe it's just, a blood flow thing as well. So yeah, Doug, I'm sorry to hear you're still struggling. And I recommend to you, ask questions. If you can get into the coaching hub, we can get more, I can get more personalized with you. The coaching hub kind of got a little heavy on students lately, so I did have to raise the price just to slow down enrollments. So I apologize about that, but it does fluctuate as I have more. The price fluctuates as I have more capacity to actually coach individuals. So we're just getting updates from Stony Stein. Where are the most clients from? United States. Magnarita, all right, things working. Kara, thank you for the support. Louder sound, please. Man, sorry, I didn't see that. Thank you from Ireland. BC Philip, new to the program. Thank you, telling me to take my time. Thank you, Doug, for the positive words. Guillermo, can you get closer to the bag on the floor to lift it? It looks like you were still too far away from it. I also had that thought, Guillermo. Yeah, I would have gotten closer. I would have bent my knees more. And yeah, I agree with you. I should have gotten closer to the bag to lift it. But that said, straight arms is okay. Like, as long as you're not compensating in your spine and you can reach something with straight arms, that's okay. I don't have to have my arms bent in to pick something up. So straight arms is actually more ideal because you're using less muscles. You're not using your biceps and your shoulder muscles as much. And you can focus your muscle engagement down in the core, which is more important. Is it normal that it's easiest to breathe into my lower back while laying down compared to walking? Yes, absolutely, especially in the hook lying position with your knees up, because there's less pull on your spine from the hip flexors. Brad Weber, the breathing technique seems to help my back issue significantly. I feel instant relief. Sometimes it feels like I'm holding my breath, though. How do I breathe naturally and still flex my abs? It's kind of an art that one can spend their entire lifetime learning. So as I've said in the past, I'm still working on improving my breath, and I believe I will continue to do that for the rest of my life. And so it's like meditation. I don't believe there is an end where you've reached the top and you're done learning and improving it. So breath is meditation, really, right? So it's really just an art of learning what works best for you. And I did go a little bit deeper into it for carrying, but if you're just talking about breath in your day to day, it's starting with high intensity so you can learn the general intention, and then learning how to do that same thing at a lower and lower intensity. And you may feel that the breath is giving you immense relief in the beginning because you're doing it high intensity, and so it's giving you even more support for your spine. But hopefully your body can get back into balance and heal a little bit, so you don't need that intense breath just to feel the relief, because you can feel relief at rest because your body is just in a better state. And then you can do the breathing at a low intensity level if you can learn the subtleties of that. And just that's more of a maintenance thing. So everything kind of becomes more subconscious. It kind of sinks down over time, and you don't really have to be consciously focusing on it. It's just a low level thing. So hopefully that helps. Let's see. That was Brad. So Mark Heim. I remember, well, we've had a Mark Heim in the program before. Maybe it's a different one. But hi, doc. Just finished week 1 dealing with your sciatica. Your psychologist need to sit many hours a day. Any recs for stretching exercise in the 5 minutes between sessions? Between your sessions with clients. Variety for sure. I would recommend checking out the video. We did shorten this one. It was a live stream that was shortened into like a 8-minute video on sitting. So I can't remember the title, but it's a video on sitting and how to prevent like degenerative disc disease and stuff like that in sitting. It's all about adding variety. So it's going to be whatever your 5-minute break is. I can't say to do one thing because that wouldn't be variety. It's going to be anything that can add variety to your life that feels good. Maybe just getting up, doing something different than sitting. And then when you sit back down, sitting in a different chair or a different position, or telling your client that, probably being a psychologist and standing probably isn't a good thing, but you can share with your client, look, this is what I'm doing for my body, and I got to sit in this way, and or whatever, because the better that your body feels, the better service you can provide them. So prioritizing that, right? So Sherry, thank you. El Paquito, thank you. Heather, thank you. Sue, you find you might be focusing too much on it and feel like you're hyperventilating. So I was kind of like going into that, how the focus will eventually decrease, the intensity should decrease, and as your lungs get more capacity, hyperventilating can be for different reasons, but if in this case, it almost seems like you're just not using the full capacity of your lungs. So full exhales, the exhale should be longer and slower than the inhale, pretty much across the board. So work on extending your exhale, and that could reduce your hyperventilation. Thanks for the hack. All right. Let's see. Oh, I thought it said Ireland before, but this is Ireland. Gavin, when you're activating your glutes and pelvis, does it tilt in at all? Low back, straighten, etc. I just find that ideal is neutral, but if you can't be in neutral, the next best thing is biasing towards a posterior tilt. It's a more stable position for the abdominals to be engaged and the spine and everything. So I'm just shooting for posterior, but okay with neutral. And when you pull the pubic bone forward, also pulling into posterior. So hopefully that answers your question. Let me just read that one more time. I mean, it's not going to tilt anterior. We're trying to prevent anterior tilt, and it's just locked in. I mean, the goal is wherever it is, ideally neutral or posterior, that it's locked in that position, and it's not actually actively tilting or moving during the movement. Locked in. So Stony, starting week 2. All right, stand up 12 hours at work at a counter with slight forward lean to reach the computer, overcompensate with lower back. That doesn't seem like a good position. And do I have any suggestions? So modification of your counter and workspace if possible. And if it's not possible, getting permission from management or whoever to do your best to try. And then the next best thing is going to be if you can open up. So the hip hinge is going to be really important for you. So the leaning is happening on your hips rather than your spine. So hip hinge. If you have something that you can prop your foot under. So like, for example, doing the dishes is a similar thing where you have to lean forward and it's uncomfortable for people. But if you open the cabinet below the sink and you prop your foot in there, that'll give you some support. So I don't know if your desk space has an opportunity for like that, but to put a little box or something you can put your foot up onto It has to be elevated so that you can just support that forward lean. That would be another little thing you could do. And yeah, hopefully you are starting week 2. So the module 5 stuff is going to be really helpful, but you don't want to speed to get to that, Stony. So you want to master those foundations first. Joseph Sanchez, I remember you, I believe, from last week. How do we know we are healing? I feel as though I'm progressing, however, still feel tender and tight in the low back right above the glutes. How many times a day should I be doing this exercise? I would say that your body, the sensations and the feelings and the general intuition that you have is going to be your best guide. I don't think you need to get another, I don't recommend getting more imaging to find out if you've healed, because as I talk about in the healing your disc video, you don't actually need to heal your disc all the way to be able to live a normal life. A damaged disc may be beyond the ability to, fully heal, but you can get your body into a state where it stops getting more damaged, and that's when the body can start to feel good. And many people live completely normal lives, including myself, with fully gone discs, fully herniated, fully degenerated discs. And so that's what the goal should be, is not so much is my disc healed, but how do I feel, and can I do the things that I want to do so I can be happy in my life? And so how you feel is going to be your best guide, I believe. Guillermo, full squat is okay. Yep. Done last week was about a deep squat. Yeah. You can squat all the way down, but make sure you are not just trying to only use your legs. Make sure you're using your core as well. Also, my left foot feels though as plantar fasciitis. That's a big topic, Joseph. I won't be able to go deep into that right now. Yeah, that is, woo, yep. I can put that on the topic list, but I just can't answer that one right now. I'm sorry about that. Juan, day 5, module 1, how to deal with tight hip flexors in the short term, although no, okay. Yep, that's right. Bridge is very sustainable. Walking, less sitting, more walking is a general rule, Juan. Stein, is your service almost all about lower back issues? Yeah, almost all, but it has side effects of also helping the knees and hips and neck and shoulders. Those are the side effects, kind of like medication, right? You get unwanted side effects. So your knees might start to feel better as a side effect. Just because general posture and muscular balance. Juan, so my hip flexors kept being tight because I use pillow under my knees every day. Is this okay to continue? You don't want to put more pillow than you need to take the pressure off your spine. So if you're trying to sleep on your back and you need the pillow to be comfortable, then yeah, but don't put more pillow than you need. All right, so I'm going to go back and answer the question from Stein that was, am I 100% healed? So it's interesting because I don't know if my spine is healed, because I have not gotten imaging in the last 10 years or more, probably about 10 years. And so I would imagine if I got imaging, my spine would look trashed from my 20s, the time in my life when my body was just super out of balance, and I had chronic back problems and lots of pain, and I was still trying to do things like surfing and continuing to damage my spine because the joints were not in alignment, and so that's my answer. Is as far as disc healing and stuff, I think the discs would look black, because the bottom 3 discs would look black because they have no fluid in them anymore. But I think the alignment would look a lot better than it did back in the day when I had a spondylolisthesis and stenosis. So I think the alignment might look better just because my body is more imbalanced. So to answer the question in a different way, how do I feel? I feel like I have control over my back and my pain, and that I know the things to do to if my back is not feeling good, to make it feel better. But if I mistreat my body, like by sitting at a computer too long, or a long car ride, or doing something that wasn't good for my body, or lifting carelessly, my back will hurt, and I'm probably more prone to back pain than somebody with a healthy spine that has good imaging. So there are times when my back hurts, and it's generally for a reason. And the main difference between me now and me 15 years ago is that I'm not suffering anymore. And the reason I'm not suffering is because I know the solution, and I know that if I do something and I have a setback, that I kind of have a general idea of a timeline for how long that's going to take, maybe a week or two or a day or two, and then I'm going to get back to myself and be able to go surf and do things that I want to do. And so the big difference was back then, 15 years ago, I was suffering because, one, I didn't know what the cause of my problem was. I didn't know why I had back pain. And two, there was no end in sight. There was no end that I could see to my pain. I didn't know the solution. I didn't know the problem. I didn't know the solution. And I didn't know if I was ever going to get out of the solution. And so that was the suffering. And that doesn't happen anymore. Because of the tools that I know that I have, and that I can access them at any time. And that's what really the goal is for everyone else, is like, yeah, you can get out of back pain, but it doesn't mean you're not going to go back into it if you mistreat your body, right? There is no end destination where you're immune to back pain, and there never will be. It's just about having the tools. And that's what we want to give people, and it's up to you how you use them. But the mental confidence and the mental peace that you get from knowing you have the tools is the most life-changing thing, in my opinion. So, and then the third way to answer that is, my back is not a problem in my life in a way that it doesn't stop me from doing the things that I love. I feel like I can pretty much do anything in my life as long as I've gotten my body into the shape that it needs to be to do that. I can surf the waves I want to surf, and I can do other activities that I enjoy. And so I'm not disabled in that way. So there's the long answer to your question. I know there's been a bunch of chats since I started telling a little bit of this story here. But I have to get into the next section of the stream, which is first announcing the Student Hub Student of the Week. I think we have one this week. And then also answering some prepared questions that we have, which are from the Student Hub. So, yes, we do have a Student Hub Student of the Week. And let's see if this works. All right, things worked. Something worked. And then I'll get back to the chat, and hopefully you guys are still here when I get back to your chat question, or you can always come back and watch the replay. We're going on about, 45 minutes so far since I started late. All right. So Jessica Nelson, congratulations. You are the Student of the Week for the Student Hub, and you've been encouraging people. And congratulations to you on completing the course. So that's actually, something that I've always been impressed with, is when someone can actually complete the core balance training program, because you don't actually need to complete it in order to have success with the program. And I believe many people don't complete it. They get what they need and they move on with their lives, and they never actually completed the program. But to be able to complete this course is a worthy accomplishment, and so we're proud of you. And you're the Student Hub Student of the Week, and it sounds like you made some great progress as well. So thank you, Jessica, for encouraging others and for committing to yourself. And we're going to give you an extra month access to the program, to your membership, and you have to do nothing. We will add it from the back end. So, yep, congrats to you. And let's get on with the questions. So we have sounds like a mountain biker, maybe a single track mountain biker, who says, will this program cure peripheral neuropathy? So peripheral neuropathy can be caused by different things, and so I cannot say that it will be even affected by the program. But there are things you can do to improve it, and if the cause is related to nerve compression in your spine, then yes, it can and should help. Cure is a big word. I don't like using the word cure because if you can get out of pain or get rid of your peripheral neuropathy, it doesn't mean it can come back if you mistreat your body. So to me, cure feels like kind of permanent. And so I'm going to say no to cure, because you're always going to be living in your body, and you're always going to be responsible, 100% responsible for keeping it healthy by educating yourself, empowering yourself, and doing the right things. So and there are other causes of peripheral neuropathy like diabetes and stuff like that the program's going to do nothing to help. But there are other things you can do, like improve your diet, and definitely improving your blood flow is one of the best things you can do. So cardiovascular exercise to the amount that you can tolerate is highly valuable for that. You're desperate to get better. You want to find something you can do at home. You went to the PT, religious about doing the exercises, yet what they gave you did not get you better. Should you find another PT? There's good PTs and bad PTs and everything in between. So it would be hard to answer, but doing your research and finding a good PT is definitely worth the effort. That's what I'll say about that. Next question is from Elizabeth. She says, you're 4 days into the first week. Something you're doing during the proto bridge exercise is triggering whatever it is that irritates your trochanteric bursa. I've been dealing with bilateral trochanteric bursitis for 7 months. Minimal relief with traditional care. I'm concerned that this program, while doing good things for my core strength, is going to continue to aggravate the bursitis. I need the bursitis to go away. Bursitis is a tough one. It is going to be related to repetitive trauma. So what you want to do, Elizabeth, for any kind of exercise that you're doing is going to be reducing the amount of repetitions that you do and focusing on like high quality, higher intensity movements. And so instead of, if you're, say, for example, this is not like what you should be doing, but the example is, say you're going to do squats in the gym. Instead of doing 3 sets of 10 squats with a lower weight, the type of solution for bursitis, because you do need to get stronger, you need to improve the muscle strength around that bursa to take the pressure off it and help support it, is you might do only 4 reps total of a heavier weight. So it's less repetitive trauma, but you're still getting that strength. And so that's a general rule you would apply to anything, whether that be the bridge or something else. But generally, you have to increase the intensity to get benefits when you are doing lower repetitions. This is the same strategy for tendinitis. Anybody who has tendinitis or tendinosis, you want to reduce repetitions, repetitive trauma, but still do the things to make the body stronger. So Elizabeth, the program is my best recommendation for building, strength. Typically it's going to be, you want to build strength in your glutes, and you want to improve your body's, functional movements, the way that you move your body. That bursa is upset for whatever reason. And so that you got to do things to change it, but you can't do high repetition stuff, and you got to listen to your body and do less of the things that are causing the irritation. So if for now that's the bridge, you can focus on doing the pre-bridge stuff like the back anchor progression and work around it until you build up the ability to tolerate the things. And it's always going to be a gradual progression. So hopefully that helps. It's a tough situation to be in, but you got to look at it from a very long game perspective. All right, so we'll do, this is the 3rd question out of 6. So we'll do this one. We'll be halfway through, and then I'll go back to the chat. This one is from Diane. She says, week 2, put time and effort into the breathing that on your walks, grocery store, etc. Weirdly, sometimes I'll be sitting and catch my stomach pushing out. Good job. Great body awareness, Diane. That's the pattern we're trying to reverse gradually over time. It appears my stomach is getting larger in the front due to the core exercises and my breathing. Before the get fat exercise, I didn't notice that. Okay. Okay. All right. I'm starting to see what you're saying. Okay. It appears that your stomach is getting larger in the front. So sometimes that's due to anterior pelvic tilt. So you want to be aware that you're not, the protruding belly is not happening to you from anterior pelvic tilt. And we also want to be clear that the get fat concept is not pushing out your stomach. It's not pushing out your stomach. And it's not like you're doing the thing where people would pretend that they're pregnant and push their belly out. It's not that. It's really just talking about the sides, and you're trying to, let's see, how do I get on camera? Right on the sides here, under your rib cage on the sides, you're just feeling the deeper muscles of your core, and that they actually expand and push out a little bit when they're engaged. And so if there's indentions on your sides right here, you have the classic look where there's six pack in the middle, but you have indentions on your sides. That typically means you have underdeveloped deeper core muscles. I can name them, but it's not actually important or needed to learn how to feel them and start using them. And that's where you need the expansion to be. But in the middle, you don't need you're not pushing out your belly, like your whole belly or even in the middle. So just want to clarify that. You say, thoughts, please. Don't want to have a bulging stomach. Am I doing the get fat wrong? So hopefully that answer gives you some clarity. You understand the let it get fat. I understand the let it get fat. At the bridge, I keep testing myself to make sure I'm doing it correct by pushing away, which might affect the stomach. I'm very good at laying down and achieving flat rib cage on stomach. I'm enjoying the course and think it will be a huge benefit to me. All right, so Diane, here's something that hopefully will give you clarity. When you're laying down, you say, I'm very good at laying down and achieving a flat rib cage on stomach. So when you do this and you anchor your back anchor to the floor, the bottom of your rib cage in the back, and your rib cage comes down and your stomach gets flat. I say flat, not fat. There's a straight line between your rib cage and your pubic bone. That automatically applies the get fat concept. Just simply pushing away from your back anchor is the get fat concept. And so that's doing it right. Now, when you come up off the ground and you don't have that ground to push away from with your back anchor, that's why we have the get fat video as a check, and just to check that it's still, those deeper muscles are still activated, but nothing happens differently than what you were doing on the floor. So hopefully that gives you some clarity. And I'm glad you're enjoying the course. And I also hope that it is a benefit to you, Diane. So let's go back to the chat. We'll find out where we were. And I think I was at Joseph Sanchez with a follow-up question. And you say, can I ask if the plantar fasciitis, let's go to the full screen. And I don't want it to be like looking down so much. So I'm going to raise this up. I'm going to modify my environment for a better posture. And let's see. Can I ask if the plantar fasciitis is tied to my lower back problem? That's a fantastic question, which I can answer if you're still here, Joseph. Yeah, I believe it's all related. Just the fact that the body is interconnected and the posture of your hips is going to affect the knees, and the knees being affected is going to affect the ankles, next joint down, and then ankles absolutely affect the feet. And so, yeah, typically when people have global muscle imbalances, which is what I talk about in the masterclass, it's a global problem. And most often people will not only have chronic lower back pain, but they will also have other issues throughout the body. And it almost feels like the body is breaking down. And that kind of, I hate to say it, but it kind of is what's happening. It's breaking down a little sooner than it should. It all it happens to all of us as we age, but some people it doesn't happen until they're 70 or 80. And some people it happens when they're 25, or for me, it was even sooner than that. So you want to just hold it off as long as possible and stay open. And that is some of the that is some of the other lessons that I talk about, which I won't get into too deeply here. But yeah, it's related. That's the long answer. Jay Johnson, one of the pictures from day 4 bridge shows a yoga block. Yeah, I know that's in the picture. Can this be used to help buy some short-term space with the hip flexors, maybe between bridge efforts? That's a good question, Jay. I just don't really like the idea of stretching the hip flexors without and being able to relax the glutes, because that block will allow you to just relax the glutes. It's possible that you could do it in a way that kind of helps you with the stretch and maintains it, but the best way to stretch the hip flexors is actively. So the bridge, it requires your body is causing you to lift up, not a block, and that's the way you're going to get the best synergy of all the muscles working together, is without the prop. But yeah, so if you're going to use the block, just be careful you're not throwing yourself into anterior tilt, and you really want to have your abdominals at least engaged to protect your spine. So yeah. Irilon, thank you. I didn't work that so well. Yeah, I'm still healing from pelvic tilt, so when I activate my core, things shift. Sue, just want to add, today doing the bridge, I felt like finally got the perfect engagement. Nice. No hip flexor knots or pain. I got all the way into it. Woohoo. That's a huge breakthrough, Sue. I just want to let you know that I know what you're talking about. I know that breakthrough personally, and that is a potentially life-changing breakthrough. So tomorrow you want to press the gas pedal more on that and get into there and feel that breakthrough again and again and again, and then you'll have that tool for the rest of your life. Lisa, even standing for a certain amount of time. So this is a follow-up to, I don't see Lisa's previous comment, so I don't know what that's referring to. Lisa, if you're still here. Juan, my lower back pain seems to be related to the SI joint. Yeah, that's most likely. When going through module 1, I'm working on back ankle progression and bridging. Thank you for the long answer. You're welcome. You're still here, Stian. Glad to hear. Kara, love seeing your name popping up through the chat. Juan, oh, you already said that. I think you did. I do support that, Juan. Pain in the right iliac crest after trying to adjust my pelvis to fix imbalance based on my feelings. Is this dangerous approach? Pain in the right iliac crest. That's kind of like in your back. After trying to adjust my pelvis to fix imbalance based on my feelings. Is this a dangerous approach? How should I work on pelvic stability to deal with pain in the hips? I think that just the general strategy you want is just going to be, you want to find your edge where that pain is, you're on the edge of that pain and you're not going too far into it, and you want to play around in that space. You want to build your body's tolerance of doing the right thing. So assuming you're doing the right thing and you're bridging and you're engaged, and if that pain's coming on, you want to go right up to the edge of it and just play there and spend time there, but not into it. And then maybe the next day that edge will have moved 1%. And that's the progress you want to go for. But yeah, pelvic stability is one of the things we're trying to achieve. All right. Lisa was thinking out loud. I love it. Okay, so we're going to go back. I caught up in the chat, so congratulations to me. We're going to go back to the slides. We have 3 more questions. One from Tiffany. She says, I was feeling really great, but now my lower back has been feeling pretty crazy down into my buttocks. My legs have felt a bit trembly off and on, and I've been having pretty consistent pain. It feels extremely tight where my tailbone is, and sometimes there's popping sounds there as well as up my spine. Popping sounds in your tailbone. Okay. I've also noticed some very strange sensations in my abdomen. I've been dealing with inflammation since I had an adjustment from a chiropractor 9 months ago. That is why I started this program. So I thought maybe it's that. Okay, so the problem with me being able to answer this is that I don't have enough information. So, Tiffany, this is going to have to be a multi-part conversation where I'm going to ask you questions because I need more information to give you help. And then you'll have to get back to me and we'll do it again. So, you were feeling really great. So that's good. Your back started feeling crazy down into your buttocks. My legs felt trembly off and on and been having pretty consistent pain. Can you just describe to me, is this nerve pain, like tingling, numbness, shooting, burning, cold type pain? Or is it not nervy, like electrical type pain, but just more, typical back pain? It feels extremely tight where my tailbone is, and sometimes there's popping sounds there as well as up my spine. So often I don't hear about popping on the tailbone. Is it possible that the popping is happening at your SI joints? Because that's more common, although tailbone popping is not out of the realm of possibility. And do you have a history? What is your history with your tailbone? There must be a history. If you have a tailbone problem, there's going to have to be something that has led into this. Typically, it's either trauma or like physical trauma, or it just gradually got worse over time. But it doesn't usually just start hurting instantly without some cause. Maybe I'm wrong. You've noticed strange sensations in your abdomen. Can you describe those a little bit? And then my last question was, what kind of adjustment did you have by the chiropractor? Was it to your lower back? Was it to your tailbone maybe? That would explain a lot if you had an adjustment to your tailbone. Or was it to your pelvis? So those are the questions I need a little background on. And then the other thing that I would just say is, it sounds like changes are happening to your body. And that is a common thing where people will feel initial relief in the program, and then maybe the pain that was there before actually changes or even moves to a different location. And that's actually, in my opinion, a sign that you're on the right track, that you've done something that has targeted the cause of your pain to cause it to change or move. And so you want to continue to listen to your body and do the things that are making it feel better or intuitively feel good for you, and do less of the things that are making it hurt. So if you have done something and you can relate it to the increase in your pain, then you would want to do less of that. But I do want to know if it's nervy pain or not, because that'll affect my answer. So we'll go back and forth on that. Gretchen has a question. Says, I'm relatively new, moving through the program very slowly due to severe scoliosis, 87.5 degree curve for many years, and I'm being helped by this program. That's great to hear, Gretchen. In Module 3, Day 2, I'm unable to use my new 6-inch diameter black foam roller. I am a small woman, and my upper spine is 3 inches shorter than it was when I was young. Not much rolling room. Okay. Would I have a better outcome if I got a 4-inch diameter white, softer foam roller? The softer foam roller can be better if you're having pain from tenderness, from it being too firm. Thank you for the explanation that you have a 6-inch diameter black foam roller, because then I can answer that. But I'm a little confused on why you don't have enough rolling room, because, too much contact points. Unless you're having tenderness pain, Gretchen, I think that actually you should be fine with the black 6-inch roller, and ideally you just want to get really good at moving slowly with it, and just very deliberate movements where you're rolling. You can feel, because even if you're short and you have small vertebrae, you can still feel when the foam roller transitions from one vertebrae to the next. It goes in a little tiny divot, and then it goes to the next one and rolls up onto it. And you want to really tune into your body and feel what the foam roller is on, because even the black foam roller, it has the amount of contact with your spine is actually a very small surface area. And since it's firm, it's not going to indent. There's going to be a very small contact point with your spine. And so I think you should be fine. But it doesn't hurt to try a 4-inch foam roller. And, if you can afford to get another one, it doesn't hurt to try, and you can try it and return it if it doesn't work out for you. I understand. I think I understand why you want to try it. So it does make kind of sense, but I do think you should be fine with the 6-inch one. So your big concern is my big curve at the top of the thoracic spine has been stabilized for several years and does not hurt anymore. I do all kinds of housework from scrubbing floors to carrying wood. Only my lower back reacts at times. I really don't want to go back into the acute pain in my upper back. How critical is the foam roller exercise, and should I skip it? That's a really good question. So you don't want to destabilize something that was once unstable and has been stabilized. So if you have like a certain level, like spinal level vertebrae of your thoracic spine that was unstable in the past and was like prone to becoming unstable, you don't want to be rolling or doing the manipulation or the mobilization on the foam roll at that level. But actually what would be a good thing is to be doing it on the levels below and the levels above that, because the more mobility that you have in the levels above and below the unstable section, the more mobility you have here, the easier it is to keep the unstable level more stable, because the spine does need to move. And so if it just hinges in one spot, the unstable spot, that's the worst situation. But if you can get more mobility around that spot, then it requires less movement, less hinging to happen. So hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, it's great to improve mobility in the stiff areas, but definitely avoid mobilizing unstable or potentially prone to unstable part of your spine. Hopefully that answers your question. Your big curve at the top of your thoracic spine, if it's a big thoracic curve, if you're rounded forward like this, then you do want to address that, because that is related to your lower back pain, and it's causing the similar concept. It's causing your lower back to have to curve in the opposite direction more to compensate for that big rounded curve in your upper back. And that's repetitive trauma. It's causing it's too excessive. And that's part of the big problem. Anterior pelvic tilt, hyperlordosis, stenosis, stuff like that. The thoracic spine is very involved in that, and that's why we address it. But just avoiding the unstable area that you know about, and if it's causing any pain, definitely don't do it. All right, last question in the slides, and then we'll finish up in the chat. And I hope everybody is, I hope everything's still working. Tom says, after watching the SI joint YouTube session, I've consciously avoided movements that will shear the joint. I also bought the band and have worn it for 5 weeks now. All right, the belt, I believe you're talking about. I'm still getting a fair amount of shearing of the joint on my right side when I do something like swing my leg to get in and out of car. Yep, I definitely understand that. I didn't talk about that in the video, but that is one of the things. Yep. So I do have, for this, Tom, I do have the hip flexor trick. It's a video, or it's a live stream in the beginning where I demonstrate my little trick, and you can use that trick to get your leg in and out of a car, and that will help reduce. So it's just grabbing your leg essentially, but I demonstrate. So 2 questions. Are the movements outside of the bridge I should focus on to continue strengthening the glutes to minimize this, and any others I should avoid? Are there movements? So the SI joint stabilizer bridge is one of them, is a progression of the bridge. So that for sure. And any symmetrical movements that you can get away with that don't cause the joint to pop or click or shear. So if you can get away with a squat, then that is, and it doesn't, like, you want to go up to that pop, click, shear threshold, but don't let it happen. But you want to work up beneath it and strengthen that range of motion. And then what you're doing is you're pushing that threshold. So if you can get away with a squat, symmetrical activities, right? symmetrical and bilateral activities are the things you want to be doing. Bridge progressions, SI joint stabilizer bridge, which is the butt buster. Squats are a good thing if you can get away with it. Deadlifts, and you can do, if you're gonna do, you can do arm weights. But anytime you're lifting weights with your arms, think about this as a core and glute stabilization exercise. You're just keeping those stabilized while you're doing other things. So hopefully that helps. How long should I wear the band? I know you said it should be a temporary in the video. There is a whole video. I don't know if you've seen it, Tom, but there's a whole video on wearing the SI belt and my strategy for using it and weaning off of it. So I recommend that, watching that, because it seems like maybe you haven't, because I go kind of in depth into how long to wear it and how to wean off of it and what activities to do and stuff like that. I'm still struggling to get the glutes core to overtake the hip flexors low back on some occasions. Yeah, that's a very understandable thing. I do sit most of the day for work, so not sure if that's counteracting any progress. Yes, it is. I'm making with the exercises. Are there any recommendations on how to make the final step? Thanks in advance for the help. I really like the program. It's been helping a ton. Thank you, Tom. So in addition to just the things I've said already, one of the best things you can do is so you're doing things that are helping, but there's the other side of the coin, which is, so you do more of what's helping, but you also want to do less of what's hurting, and you're sitting a lot. And that's hurting. That's limiting your progress and potentially causing you to go back a step. You can make 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And so reducing the amount of sitting, I know you do it for work. So micro breaks, mini breaks, stand up for 5 seconds and take a breath. When you can, stand up and go for a 2-minute walk when you can. Stand up and go for a 10-minute walk when you can. I don't know, pretend like, how back in the day, I don't know, probably still happens, cigarette smokers are always going out for little 5-10 minute breaks. Well, you don't have to smoke cigarettes to do that. So just continually get up and go out for little breaks and just move your body. And if you can just go walk for any amount of time, it will reverse some of the effects of sitting. And then the sitting video, I talk about the best way you can sit, which is variety. So hopefully that helps for you, Tom. We'll go back to the chat. We'll see where I was. Okay. So we're at Zoya. Hi, doctor. Do you think that completing the program will help me change the outlook of protruding belly? I've struggled with it my entire life. Change the look. Yeah, for sure, Zoya. So if you can get a more tone, so that's the word, is tone in your abdominal muscles. What tone is it's the resting state, the amount of electricity flowing through the muscle at rest. And if you can increase that tone, the amount of electricity, the amount of energy, the amount of tension in your abdominal muscles, even when you're resting, just like, relaxed, that's possible. And that would approximate your pubic bone and your rib cage, which would reduce protruding belly. And everybody can know that tone can be possible to increase at rest through work, through exercise, but the benefits extend into rest, because you can look at a bodybuilder. Bodybuilders it looks like they're flexing when they're not. Their muscles have high levels of tone, and they're not even doing anything. So all muscles have some level of tone, unless the muscle is paralyzed. So you have a really low level of tone in your abdominals, and they're just kind of like getting pushed out by your intestines and blah, blah, blah. And so you want to just gradually over time increase tone through the breathing is a really good way to do that. Breathing from the program. And then connecting to your anchors. Yeah. So hopefully that helps for you, Zoya. People have asked me if I was pregnant before, offer me a young pregnancy. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. But good thing it's something you can have control over. Yeah. So the worst is when people give insulting things and there's nothing you can do but this is possible. It's not easy, but it's possible. I took a picture of your APT before starting the program and took one yesterday. I'm on M4, module 4. Don't see much change. Yeah, so it's going to be, what you learn in the program is you learn the concepts, you educate yourself, you learn the tools, and you equip yourself. But the benefits are not expected to be completely realized within a 3-month time frame, because it's a really, really short time frame for changing the structure and makeup of your body and how it holds itself at rest. That's really what we're trying to do, is achieve muscular balance, not just by engaging and trying to hold yourself tight, but when you're just chilling and your body's resting in more balance. That 3 months is too fast to be able to achieve the amount that you need of changes in muscular structure and building blocks and proteins and rebuilding of the amount of length that they rest in. So you can get a lot of progress, and you can actually feel fully relief. You can, feel 100% better in a very short amount of time. But to actually make biological tissue changes can potentially take much longer, 3 to 6 months, maybe even 6 months to a year, and you just got to stay persistent. But equip yourself with the tools and then continue to use them day after day after day, and never give up. You will see change. BC Philip, I understand you need to fix back to front first, but what if you have pelvic torsion and sides don't work evenly? Yeah, so that's a good question. So pelvic torsion, my understanding of pelvic torsion involves both sagittal and frontal plane. So it's a twist and a rotation. And so you get let's see, this is sagittal, like this, anterior pelvic tilt, posterior pelvic tilt, torsion. And so this is going to be an uneven left and right, and also uneven front to back. And so you get the front to back level, however way you can, and then you balance out the left and right. You can simultaneously do it, but it still is more effective and I think faster to do sagittal first, because if you only affect left and right, it can actually add another element, which is the transverse plane, and you can add a rotation in there when you don't have that front to back stability. This is the stability that you need to lock in your pelvis. And then once you have this stability, and you can be like, all right, I'm locked here. I got to be level to do this. I'm locked here. Now I can address this, and I'm not going to be causing any kind of compensation elsewhere. It's a really tough place to be. Again, not easy. It takes time, but it's just personally what I found. And it would be awesome if you can do it simultaneously. And that will involve the strategy. I write about it a lot in like the FAQs and stuff, where you, whatever exercise you're doing, left, if it's left and then right of the exercise is not a symmetrical, bilateral exercise, but it's either asymmetrical or unilateral, then spend more time and more effort and more focus on the side that's more challenging, more difficult, and harder to maintain good form and connection on that side. And then you're gradually evening out the left-right balance as well. Lisa, this was a good question from Tom. Just answered many questions from me. Good to hear. Tone is hard to come by with menopause. Yeah. But no matter how old you are, no matter, whether you've been through menopause or not, you can make changes to your body. And the rate at which the body makes changes might slow down. But you could be 100 years old and you can still improve your strength, improve your endurance. From where you are now, you could make tomorrow a better day. You can be stronger tomorrow. So don't let the speed at which benefits arrive impact your desire and effort to get benefits. Yeah. If it's not coming fast enough, I'm not going to do it. No, that's not what I recommend. So looks like I'm caught up in the chat. Looks like I'm complete with my questions that we had lined up for today. So that's the stream. How long did we go? We went almost an hour and a half. And how many people we still got here? Wow, look at that. That's impressive. We still got about 30. So to me, it says 35 viewers. So thank you guys for still being here. Wow. Thank you for going on that little bit of a roller coaster ride in the beginning with technical difficulties. And I appreciate you guys. Yeah, I appreciate all the kind words. I appreciate the support and the amount of effort that you are putting into educating yourself, showing up for yourself, and improving your relationship with your body and your life by showing up. Yeah, that's huge. That's the solution. I was on a podcast on Monday, which we will let you guys know when it gets published. I was on a guest on somebody else's podcast, and he said, "What's the solution to back pain?" And I said, "Wow, that's a great question." I think it's education. Yeah, and then implementing what you've learned. So not only educating yourself externally with books and conversations and whatever resources you can find, but educating yourself internally with learning about your body and learning what it feels like to use your body in different ways and trying to improve those ways day after day after day and never stopping, never getting to a point where you say, I have reached my level that I want to be at and I'm done. No, you continue to do that forever. That's the solution to back pain, in my opinion. So, thank you guys, everyone. All the kind words, all the support. And I will be back next week. So until then, get down on the floor and connect to your core. Take care, everyone.